Mystery and Deceit from Earth to Mars. Book 1 of Chaos's Orbit Saga. Written by James T. Hall. Narrated by Chris Pullman. Episode 3. My First Visit, Part 2. Before we headed across campus with our precious cargo, Tim had me relate everything of my meeting with Eric to him. He'd become as speechless as I had been. The concept alone of a founding member of the TDF still being alive was, if not absurd, beyond reasonable belief. From what was known of the TDF armed forces, they were somehow enhanced humans. No records yet existed on enhanced how, but it tied back into whatever James, Eric, Adam, and Melinda had done at Project Plymouth. Could part of it have been extended life? Eric appearing to be in his late 50s could mean something like 1 decade of age for every century lived. Medical science is currently very good at extending life, but nowhere near that good. And in checking quickly with the biology department's administrative assistant on the best person to talk to about human longevity, we hit a dead end. Greg Pace. Eric. Upon arrival at the science building, we were greeted by a man by the name of Amid Saliba. Tim Fowler told me that he was a casual hero who had dabbled in minor research. His real passion, though, was temporal physics, a field these days that encompassed such talents as precise carbon dating. Tim assured me that while Amid may recognize the importance of Eric Aaron Pullman, the company in the photograph should ring no bells. In other words, what we were about to ask Amid to do could be passed off as an historical find for heroes and non-heroes alike. "My friends, hello, hello," Amid greeted, shaking our hands in turn. "My friend," Tim replied, "this is James Hall. He was an undergrad advisee of mine. I'd shared with you his findings on the TDF. I shot him a questioning glance. Why do you think I asked your permission to share it if I felt safe doing so, James? It was very solid work. Ah, that, James. Yes, yes. I thoroughly enjoyed the paper. Come, come. Let us proceed to my lab. There we can talk about these old documents we have. It is a short walk. This way, Amid said, beginning to lead us back into the building. Tell me, James, are you also the James Hall writer for the Times? That I am, sir, I replied. Aha! Yours is my favorite articles in the paper. Always so insightful and well-researched. Must have been good teaching, eh? He asked over his shoulder, winking at Tim. Could be, but not for me. He was always falling asleep in my classes. Hey, I countered. I only did that when you were boring, or on a day that ended in Y. We arrived at Amid's lab. He closed the door and engaged all the privacy fields on full, blocking out the outside world and creating that extra white glow that accompanied the whited-out windows, bouncing all the room's light back inside. Now, my friends, what do you have? I very cautiously pulled the book from my bag, extracting the certificate and photo from it. I was given these today, I said. The man who gave them to me claimed that they are authentic. I need to know if they're old enough to be so. Amid lowered his glasses on his nose and studied them both. Why some people still opted for glasses instead of corrective surgery was beyond me. Yes, yes. At first glance, quite old. He gingerly touched the birth certificate. Very old. This name, I recognize it. Is this the TDF man from your report, James? That is what the man tells me, I said, glancing at Tim out of the corner of my eye. Amid kept his gaze fixed on the documents. So you'd be curious not only about the documents, but the ink too then, huh? Pardon? Well, the paper itself could be test old enough to be from the correct time, of course, but the ink could test otherwise. So you want both tested? Yes, I suppose so. Can you help us do that? Am I capable? Yes. Am I willing to help fellow heroes uncover some piece of our history? Without question. Are you willing to leave this in my possession for a day? I will keep them safest in secret, Amid said, glancing up at me without moving. I met his glance, looking at Tim. He gave me a slight nod. The man could be trusted. Sure. Yeah, I replied. When do you think you could have the results to me? It will take a bit longer to do the tests off of the official. Wouldn't want anyone getting wind of this. Still, the computer should give me a result no later than 8:39 a.m. tomorrow morning. That fit my schedule. It would give me what I needed in time to have new informed questions ready for the man claiming to be Eric Pullman. Okay. Sounds good. Would you like my card so that you can contact me? My friend, we both know that would be a bad idea. Knowing that you are asking me to do. I would get the results and these documents to Timothy, who can return them to you. Ours is always a game worthy of some caution, no? Such an assessment put my mind at ease about how Amid would handle the tests. Although, to be honest, if the results turn out the way I think they will, you may hear my shouts wherever you may be, Amid said with a chuckle. I thanked Amid for his help, and we parted ways, Tim heading back to his office and I back to my house. That night I found myself unable to have any sort of restful sleep. My brief meeting with Eric kept rolling itself over and over again in my head. I tried every mind-clearing technique I knew to force my mind away from the issue at hand. None worked. What if the birth certificate and photo turned out to be old enough? What time spencers were common? Time acceleration didn't exist. If Amid came back with evidence that the certificate and photo were the proper age, did that prove that Greg Pace was really Eric Aaron Pullman? For that one last night, uncertainty remained for me. I couldn't be sure if the man Greg Pace was Eric Pullman or not. I couldn't be sure that what it would mean if he was. After all, for a hero of centuries ago in Earth's history to still be alive, especially in a time when the Terran government was doing all they could to suppress the very idea that he had even existed in the first place, what better counter-evidence could there possibly be? Such thoughts kept racing through my head all night as I contemplated the impossible reality that stood before me. As light shone through my windows, I began to ask myself what I would say to the man if his claims were substantiated. What could I ask such a man? Tell me everything from the beginning? Nearly 500 years could not be easily related like that. No, I would have to focus this conversation, guide it towards specific ends, try to fill in the massive gaps that history had left. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er goes Poe's poem. Here I lay, still awake, facing that raven. I finally rose and made some coffee. Much would be needed to get me through this day. Where mathematicians may turn coffee into proofs, today I would turn coffee into truths. I had arranged with Tim Fowler to meet him for some early morning coffee on campus prior to heading back to his office to see the results. He, like I, had been kept awake all night by possibilities of the thing. Before meeting me, he had stopped at his office to secure the envelope Amid had indicated would be there waiting for him. Not wanting to open it in public, we likewise wanted it kept close until we did. We made our way back to Tim's office, where he broke the seal on the envelope. Inside were the certificate and old photo, now sealed in protective coveralls. A letter and fact sheet had also been slipped inside. The letter read, I burned the midnight oil, so excited was I. Shortly before 6 this morning, the computers finished their analyses. On the included fact sheet, you can see for yourselves the results. To have such important documents in my hands has brought me incredible joy. These both are indeed from the time period we seek. The birth certificate, ink and all, matches the date thereon inscribed. The photo is from 32 years later. I do not understand its significance, but assume one of you will. Please to share with me when you find it out. The coveralls I have placed on these will not prevent carbon degradation, and so will make further carbon dating yet possible. They will, however, protect both documents from the typical atmospheric contaminants all old documents face. Keep these safe, my friends. They are a great find for the cause. Yours, A. So there it was. Neither Tim nor I could say anything for some minutes. We both kept rereading the letter to make sure that we had not misread it. The birth certificate was real. The photo was real. We had before us real evidence, hard evidence, primary evidence that not only had Eric Aaron Pullman existed, but that the rest of the senior TDF officers did, and that they had all worked together at NAR Defense, a company that had actually existed. Finally, with an eye on the clock, I said to Tim, I've got to go. I'm meeting him again soon. He looked up at me. I don't ask you to take me with you, he said, but I would like to hear about it afterward. Yeah, I replied. What are you going to ask him? Actually, Tim, I don't know yet. There's so much. I know, he said. Just do one favor for me today. Be sure to tell him how important he is to us, huh? I mean, you don't get to talk with a legend just every day. Will do, Tim. See you later. I left his office and headed once more to Eric's house. Did doubts still linger in my mind? Of course. While the birth certificate and photo were the right age, no one alive could truly verify their authenticity. But I wanted to believe that he really was Eric Pullman, that somehow he really had survived all these centuries and really could answer my questions. Then, just as panic began to set in, as I realized I had no prepared questions, no clear direction for this meeting with Eric, I found myself in front of his house once more. With the coverall documents in my messenger bag and a fully charged and prepared note tab, I mounted the steps to Eric's front door and rang the doorbell. I heard someone inside stirring, and soon enough I heard the mechanical sounds of latches and tumblers as the locks of the door were being released. The door once more opened. Mystery and Deceit, From Earth to Mars, Book 1 of Chaos's Orbit Saga, written by James T. Hall, narrated by Chris Pullman. Episode 3, My First Visit, Part 2. Visit us online at www.narclaninc.com to link up with us.